Hello and welcome to Insights, the podcast with your host, Joe Parnay. Join me in this deep exploration of our personal journeys from ambition to meaning, where we stop living life fast and start living life deep. This is a journey of waking up and realizing that our lives have never been about us, but about others. True success leaves positive ripple effects on other souls. I believe that success needs to be redefined from our own personal ambitious endeavors to be redefined as the value that we leave and give to others around us. Join me now as we begin this journey to deeper connections, even more fulfillment, some fun, curiosity, life, love, and all good things. Your deeper journey from ambition to meaning starts right now. Hey everyone, Joe here. Welcome to episode 17. Thank you again for joining me. Also, especially thank you for so many of you who sent some amazing messages about the last episode 16. That was the one that was called How to Stop Your Wild Mind Ruling Your Life. Fascinating look into the mind. Well, ironically, in this session, we're going to be looking at the strength of the mind, because what I want to focus on in this session is emotional resilience. And I'm actually going on the road this week at the time of this recording to actually speak about emotional resilience to some corporate groups and some sales teams. So it's going to be a fascinating week. And the reason why I bring that up is because I was thinking to myself, what's a way that I can translate emotional fitness and emotional intelligence in a way that's useful, implementable, that's immediately actionable, that makes sense in our lives. So essentially, emotional resilience is about the quality of our relationship with uncertainty, the quality of our relationship with ambiguity. You know, one of the guarantees of life, other than the old adage about death and taxes, well, forget that. I mean, that's a given. But one of the other givens of life that people don't talk about at all is guaranteed you'll be experiencing uncertainty at some point in your life, if not every week, if not on a micro level on a daily basis when you take a different way to work. But I'm talking about the bigger uncertainties, the forks in the roads, the end of a relationship, the beginning of a new career, the learning of a new skill, a sudden end to a career where you might lose your job, whatever it might be. Uncertainty is guaranteed to happen in our lives. And emotional resilience is defined, the way I define it, by the way, this is my definition based on my emotional fitness formula framework, is that emotional resilience is measured by the quality of our relationship with uncertainty. Now, when it comes to mind, as much as we spoke about the wild mind rule, going crazy in the last episode, the mind can also be tempered to be used as a power. Because you see, behind every emotion, behind every emotion is a thought, and every emotion is generated by a thought. In a future episode, I'll go deeper into emotions versus feelings and the difference between the two. And I won't go into that now because it will just complicate our conversation today. So I just want to keep this of singular of mind. So let's just talk about emotion as one and the same as feelings for now. Generally speaking, like 99% of the time, all emotions are created by a thought. So whenever we're feeling a certain way, it's not because we're just feeling that way. It's because a micro moment ago, we gave a thought to something that we then associated a meaning into, which then generated an actual emotion. And this is normally happening rampant. Well, it is happening rampantly, as we covered in the last episode, and it's also happening automatically. And for most people, it's happening outside of their awareness, which means they don't even know that they're generating their own emotions. What I want to do in this episode is I want to give you some thought points, focus points, choice points, where to bring your thoughts in order to improve your relationship to what uncertainty means, so then the emotions that you experience around uncertainty changes. I want to share with you a certain framework that I'm borrowing this framework from the world of Tonny Robbins, who speaks about a human needs psychology. Now, this needs framework has been incredibly influenced and inspired way back by the work of Dr. Abraham Maslow, who I really want to spend some time talking about in a future episode, because his work is amazing and his philosophy just so aligns to mine in terms of what, how we relate to mental health and emotional health and all those issues. And we'll talk about that, as I said, in more detail in another episode. But for today, let's go a little bit deeper into a framework called the 6 core drivers, or the 6 needs of the human condition, or what I call the 6 universal drivers. And as I said, this framework is borrowed, and I attribute this to Tonny Robbins, but I'm going to give you my spin on it, my take, and how I've used this framework to help so many people over the last 14 years. So I'll just give you a helicopter view of these 6 core drivers first, and then I'm going to talk about how this can help us become more emotionally resilient, more emotionally empowered, and so we can have a healthy emotional health when it comes to the way that we manage and experience those forks in the road, those inevitable forks in the road in all areas, from health to relationships to career. So these 6 universal drivers begins with the fundamental base driver, very much similar to the Maslow model, where we're talking about we all have a need for certainty, also known for a need for comfort. So certainty can be expressed in different words: certainty, comfort, safety, security. It's something that's fundamentally a base need. Now, just so we're clear, there are so many dimensions and levels and ways to explain these 6 core drivers. I'm just going to utilize this framework today purely for the purpose of emotional resilience. But I want you to appreciate, I don't want you can do whatever you like, but what I would love for you to do, if you would like, is to appreciate the fact that there is so many levels and dimensions and angles in terms of how we can apply this framework in our lives. So as I said, we're just going to go one-dimensional today and go deep into emotional resilience, and that's how I want to use this framework. So let me continue introducing it to you. So certainty is one of the core drivers of the human condition, and one of the ways that we meet our need for certainty is through routine, is through an awareness of where all the fundamental things are in life. So in other words, where our home is, how do we get to work, the routine of how we get ready in the morning, the routine of how we have breakfast in the morning perhaps, or whatever it might be. Certainty is a realm of comfort, safety, security. This can also be applied to finances as well, which when we start talking about money, which is a future conversation as well, money, for a lot of people, for I'll say all of us, money creates triggers. Now, those triggers can be positive, those triggers can be negative, those triggers can be resourceful and can be unresourceful. But certainty can also be built around having money. So, but that's just, as I said, that's a whole other conversation. So certainty is the base driver. Now, ironically, this need partners with the very need that I want to go deeper into, and that's our need for uncertainty. So uncertainty is the secondary driver, also known as our need for variety, our need for adventure, our need for challenge. And uncertainty is something that most people, unfortunately, have a very unhealthy relationship with. A lot of people will sabotage or procrastinate their lives away in order to avoid uncertainty. As I said, uncertainty is scary for lots of people because uncertainty presupposes by the word itself that we don't know what's going to happen next. And if we can change our attitude, our thought point, our focus point, our choice point in terms of what that means, then everything can change. 14 years ago, at the time of this recording, or should I say very early 2006, is when I stepped out of being an employee and being 100% responsible for generating my own income, and when I started my own coaching and training business. And in 2006, my world was riddled in uncertainty because everything that I was doing, I hadn't done before. I had never had to go out and find my own clients. I never had to go out to these networking events at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning to begin establishing new relationships. I never I had never given a speech before or been in front of a room before. When I gave a speech once at my wedding in 1996, but that hardly compares to being in a room full of people who are there who have paid to listen to you teach them about emotional intelligence. I mean, it's very, very different to a wedding speech. I'm sure you agree. So there were so many things that were uncertain. So it was the thought or the meaning that I gave uncertainty was that it was something to be looking forward to, something to be excited by. And I'll tell you how I came to that thought as we keep going through this framework. So let me just reverse this conversation just for a moment. So far I've said to you that 2 of the 6 universal drivers of the human condition are certainty and uncertainty. And by the way, these drivers, listen to the language, they're universal. So regardless of culture, socio-economic background, geographical background, gender, consciousness level, Regardless, these 6 core drivers drive the human condition, whether we're aware of them, whether we're not. This is like the human behavioral version of oxygen. We can't see oxygen, we can't feel it, we can't even hear it, we can't smell it, but we know that it's there. And if we don't believe that it's there, well, try living without it, and we know that we can't live without it. Well, these 6 universal drivers are like oxygen to us, behaviourally speaking. So, certainty and uncertainty. Let's go a little bit deeper into this, because the way that we can improve our relationship to uncertainty, and this is the whole point of today's episode, is that the way that we can improve our relationship to uncertainty is to have a solid base of certainty. Now, how do we do that? What does that even mean? Well, let me explain this to you. So one of the ways that I set my day up energetically, psychologically, emotionally, to handle uncertainty when I made the transition from an employee to being self-employed, for example, in my world, is I made sure I had some very healthy, resourceful, robust routines in my life. So running was my savior, because running was one of my habits, one of my rituals, one of my areas where I could be in healthy solitude, or I could be with others. However I wanted to run, I could run fast, I could run slow, I could run short, I could run long, I could enter an event, I could go to different levels of comfort and discomfort in a safe environment, because it was just running. There's no money on the line, or result on the line, or other people's lives on the line, or doesn't involve anyone else. So because I've been running for so many years, I'd be going out there running 4, 5, 6 days a week. And when I'd go running, I would feel safe, secure, comfortable. Of course, safety, security, and comfort are linguistically various expressions of the same core driver, which is certainty. So by having a resourceful routine in your life, something that you can hang your hat on, something that you can rely on, a hobby of some kind, that's the key thing. Having a hobby of some kind that it has its own journey builds your need for certainty in a very healthy way. So whether you're physical like me, or whether you're creative or musical or intellectual or artistic, whatever floats your boat, I strongly recommend that you go and explore the realm of hobby in an area that floats your boat and the way that you're wired, because that is going to build your need for certainty in a very healthy way. And when certainty is taken care of, that's the platform that these other universal drivers sit on. So when certainty is taken care of, you can handle more uncertainty. But if certainty is not taken care of, if your need for certainty is not being met at all, because everything is up in the air, everything is unknown, then that's the core ingredient of what creates procrastination. Because procrastination is an unbalance of these two needs. Procrastination is when we have way too much uncertainty, very little certainty. So in order to regain, because we need these needs, in order to regain that balance of certainty and uncertainty, to bring certainty back, we will procrastinate. I mean, have you ever taken 6.5 hours to clean your desk when you've got a really important decision to make or an action to take? You translate that metaphor in any which way you like. I know I've done that. We've all done that. So here's the thing. Another way of building certainty is through support. So what does that mean? So I often will say to coaches who are new to the transitioning of going into the coaching world, I say to them that it's extremely important that you keep fine company. And the definition of fine company is the company of people who will support you, who appreciate you, who respect your values, who ideally have got very similar values to you. So they support you on your journey. Support brings certainty. And people in a work environment who lack support, who lack someone that they can lean on, or don't have any trusting relationships with anyone at work, find it extremely difficult to deal with uncertainty. See, in the work environment, uncertainty is expressed as pressure, as stress, as all kinds of different flavors of those two words, pressure and stress. And a lot of people don't have a good relationship with pressure and stress because their relationship with uncertainty is not good, because they haven't got certainty as a base need taken care of because of a lack of support, or because of a lack of genuine connection with other people in the work environment. So that's one of the ways of how we can improve our relationship to uncertainty, so we can become more emotionally resilient. The third universal core driver that Robbins talks about is the core driver of significance. To me, this is the doorway to the soul. Significance means to be respected, that we matter, that we are important, that we're making a difference, that significance is the doorway to meaning. It gives us a sense of healthy importance, that we're making a difference, that we're creating some kind of ripple effect. But fundamentally, significance is being respected. And one of the ways that we can improve our relationship with uncertainty is to feel respected. So in a work environment, if we feel that we're not respected, or that we don't matter, or that we're invisible, well, it comes along, stress and pressure come along, and you won't be able to handle it. You'll handle it in a very, very, very ordinary way. And that's because uncertainty can't be handled, because that's the core driver behind the need that's been met through stress and pressure, is that if we don't feel significant, that we don't matter, that we're not contributing, it's very difficult to have a healthy relationship with uncertainty. And I'm speaking from experience here, because I remember back in the 90s when I finished my uni degree and I started working as rehab counselor at Ford Motor Company, I was invisible. I was in a job that was completely and utterly political, driven by secondary and tertiary agendas. I would have a person who had a work-related injury on the line, and I'd have malingerers. So a malingerer will be someone who's faking the injury. But if I had someone who had a real injury, I had to deal with 5 other people that had all of their own agendas going. The shop steward, the area manager, the manager of the actual manufacturing environment, the medical center, the insurance company, the rehab provider, which is the company I worked for. Everyone had their own agendas, and nothing would ever get done. So I found that whether I turned up to work or whether I didn't, it actually made no difference. Now, is that true? That was true in the experience that I was having, which made me feel completely invisible and insignificant. So anytime there'd be any form of pressure or stress or uncertainty that would come along, I wouldn't be able to handle it, because I didn't feel like it would make any difference. I didn't matter. That was my perception. And that was the instigating energy that drove me out of there into what led me to doing what I'm doing today. So everything has its gift. As I shared with a group of people the other week, I said that things don't happen to us. Things happen for us. Very hard to take when you're in the middle of a very difficult situation. When you're in the middle of a difficult situation, the last thing you want is for a coach to say to you, "This is not happening to you. This is happening for you." Like, I know what I would say to a coach if I was in the middle of the heat of something really difficult. I want to tell them in all sorts of ways to go away. But let me be very clear that when the emotional dust settles and we become a little bit clearer, everything in your life and my life has not happened to us. It's happened for us, because I know every setback that I've had has taken me to where I am today. And without those setbacks, I wouldn't be here doing this. So the third core driver is significance, and significance opens the door. It flings the door open to the fourth core driver that Robbins talks about, and that fourth core driver is need for connection. So once again, when we're feeling significant, respected, and we feel connected and supported, that's a need for certainty, then our relationship to uncertainty improves. Remember, uncertainty is emotional resilience. So to become more emotionally resilient, we're looking to gain support from the people around us in the work environment. That meets our need for certainty. There's other ways of doing that, by the way, but we've only got time to cover so much in this one episode. Significance is a core driver. Like, if we don't feel significant, we will gravitate to where we feel most significant. So feeling respected, that we matter, that we're important, that we're making a difference, that feeds into our need for uncertainty being met in a very healthy way. Because if we are achieving through challenge, we're achieving results, we feel great. So significance fuels emotional resilience. Significance fuels emotional resilience. And then, of course, is connection. And the more we embrace uncertainty, the more connected we become with our values. If you really want to know what your values truly are, that emotional compass that directs your life, if you really want to know what that is, then embrace uncertainty, embrace a challenge, go and stretch yourself, push yourself to the edge of something, whether it's in your career, whether it's in an event of some kind. Like, for me, it's running, as I already mentioned. Like, I've done marathons and all these different events to push myself, because in those moments is when I've found out who I am or what I'm about or what my values really are. So uncertainty also formulates the platform for us to connect, so connection, with our soul, with our hearts, which is where our values actually lie. So uncertainty has got to, when we're feeling connection, we feel that we can be more embracing of uncertainty. So far what we have is 4 drivers out of the 6 I've shared with you. The first one, the base driver, is our need for certainty. There's lots of ways of getting that. One is to have a phenomenal hobby that's independent of your life and everything else. My running is independent of my family. It's independent of my work. It's something it's a go-to space. So have something like that. It doesn't have to be running, as I said. It could be something musical, artistic, intellectual, musical, whatever floats your boat. For me, it's physical. And that will help us improve significantly the way we can handle uncertainty. And the better we handle uncertainty, the more emotionally resilient we are. Then there's significance. So through embracing challenge, we feel more significant. Our self-respect goes up. We feel that we're contributing and making a difference. And emotional resilience increases as a result. And as a result of embracing challenge, we also get to meet our need for connection. So certainty, uncertainty, significance, and connection are the universal core drivers of what Robbins talks about as the personality. Those are the 4 needs of the personality. And then we have the 5th and 6th core driver. And these last 2 drivers are the needs of the spirit. And the more we embrace uncertainty, the more emotionally resilient we become by having a healthy attitude toward uncertainty, knowing that uncertainty is inevitable in life. We get to meet our 5th core driver, and that 5th core need is the need for growth. Everything in life is growing. We are innately designed to perpetually grow. Our soul is not defined or designed to stop. It's designed to keep growing forever. And so growth is something that's perpetual, and the more healthy we are toward our attitude toward uncertainty and embrace the unknown, the more we grow. That's how we grow. And as a result of growth and embracing more uncertainty, we feel more significant, not in an egotistical way, but in a very healthy, self-respecting way. We get to connect with ourselves and others in a much more deeper way, and our need for safety, certainty, comfort, and security is improved as well. And our 6th core driver, our final one for today, is our need for contribution. So as a result of becoming more emotionally resilient, we can make a bigger difference. We can contribute more to the world. When I say the world, I'm not talking about the world. I'm talking about your world, our world, your local community's world, or your work world, or your family world, or your personal world is what I'm talking about. As I say to a lot of coaches, we're not here to save the world. The world doesn't care. It's about helping the one who wants to help. So that's a very high-level helicopter view of the 6 core drivers, but I hope that this gives you a different perspective on emotional resilience. And it's about growing up and improving our attitude toward uncertainty, because our relationship to uncertainty determines how emotionally resilient that we are. So I'll just do a mini recap. Certainty, build that in your life through having a very resourceful, robust hobby in your life. Make sure you're supported by the right people in your work environment, in your home life, or wherever you can find it. Support is everything. Having a community of like-minded people that you can go to and be you and not feel judged, where you can be unedited and unfiltered. That will set you up with a much more healthier platform to embrace the inevitable uncertainties of your career or of our lives. As a result of embracing uncertainty, because our attitude has changed, yes, we become more emotionally resilient, but we also fulfill our need for significance. Our self-respect goes up. We feel good about ourselves and that we matter in this world. And as a result of pushing ourselves, we actually get to connect. So connection is the 4th driver. Connect with our values, with our soul, with the ultimate emotional compass that we have in this physical earth. And then because of that, we start to then grow more, which is the 5th core driver, which is one of the core drivers of the spirit, growth. And the 6th one, of course, is contribution. As I've shared on so many platforms, the human condition is wired to serve. And contribution, we can contribute a lot more when there's more of us to give, because we have a healthy attitude toward uncertainty, which translates into emotional resilience. Well, that was a mouthful, and you might want to listen to that one again. So I'm going to start to wrap up. I appreciate you listening today, and I trust and hope that even though some of you on this, who sign up to my podcast here, a lot of you have heard me speak live before, and you perhaps heard me teach the core drivers over, of course, a whole day. But I've given you a very high-level helicopter view, but purely in the perspective of emotional resilience. And I trust you've enjoyed today and taken something from it that can be of use. And when these 6 universal drivers are lit up and they're resourcefully met, we feel amazing. We feel great. We feel emotionally fit. We feel emotionally healthy. We feel emotionally strong. We feel emotionally resilient. So thanks so much for listening today, guys. I really appreciate it. Loving this, and looking forward to reconnecting with you again in the next episode coming up very soon. Enjoy your morning, enjoy your afternoon, enjoy your evening, wherever you are, and bye for now. I'm Joe Pane, and you've been listening to Insights, the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're thoroughly loving the journey of these messages, please feel more than welcome to leave a review. And be sure to leave a comment on what you've been learning and how useful this has been to you and how you've been sharing this with those around you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to being with you again very soon in the next episode of Insights, the podcast.